Hi guys and welcome to the trading show. This week we are gonna talk about
markets, Bitcoin flies, our portfolio, Nasdaq best performer, tip of the week, gold intraday bias, and the weekly rollover.
And if you are interested in systematic trading, then subscribe to our channel. I am Francesco Placci, Head of R&D at Unger Academy. Let's start from the market overview to see together what happened during the week. Well, let's start from the stock indexes, where we see a restart for the Nasdaq future, which gains more than 4%, and for the mini S&P 500, while the European futures show negative returns. Gasoline future is also weak, losing 5% this week, while metals are still strong and in particular gold future is at all-time highs. All the soft commodities are in uptrend except for orange juice. We can see here the coffee performance of the last week, truly remarkable, while the whole grain sector remains weak. As regards the currencies, we see the Euro FX future in strong uptrend as well as the British pound. And finally, a strong rise for Bitcoin futures, which had given us signs of strength the previous week and which in the current week opened in a strong gap up. Talking about volatility, there is not much to report, little has changed since last week. However, we can see a decrease in volatility for the American stock indices, and it is at very low levels compared to the last few months. Anyway, it remains very high when compared to long-term levels. Also, with regard to implied volatility, there is not much to report. The situation is very similar to that of the previous week. The volatility term structure is almost in contango. However, we can see that short-term volatility is significantly lower than long-term volatility. After seeing some key statistics on financial markets, and given the fact that automated traders also use this data to build their trading strategies, as usual, we will now take a look at our portfolio of trading strategies to see how systems have reacted to current market conditions.
Good morning everyone from Alessandro Danos, and welcome back to this new appointment with the analysis of the systems in our portfolio. This week I want to show you a reversal system on the future of Nasdaq, developed on a 15 minutes time frame, very simple, which enters with limit orders to the achievement of the minimum or maximum of the day before. This system was developed years ago and continues to grind excellent profits, as can be seen from the equity line, which is currently at the top of equity. Moreover, although it is very difficult to short the Nasdaq, this system has shown over the years that even on the short side it is possible to obtain some good performance. In fact, from the equity curve short, we see that the system has managed to achieve truly stunning profits over the years, if we think that the buy and hold is markedly bullish. In the last week, he has made these two beautiful trades, one long and one shorts. We could say a classic reversal configuration. And at this moment the system is in a short position from this level. Well, let's move on another system which enters on Bitcoin future and which is showing excellent performances in the last period. It is a trend-following type system, which enters only long on Bitcoin futures, because as we know, to short the Bitcoin, $100,000 margin is required, thus making short side inputs inconvenient. It was developed on a 60 minutes time frame and keeps the position open until the first bar of the following day, or in a stop loss or in a take profit. We can see from the equity line how the system has performed really well in recent years. In the face of this, of a definitely positive buy and hold, but at the same time very jagged. The strategy therefore managed to get only the best from the bullish movements of Bitcoin, managing to behave in an excellent way, and certainly better than the simple buy and hold of the underlying. Okay, now let's see the latest system for this week, and we always remain on the Bitcoin futures market. The strategy I want to show you is not so different from the one shown above, as it is also a trend following strategy, which only enters long on Bitcoin. Let's see how the strategy has managed to get the most out of the bullish movement that has done the Bitcoin in the last week, managing to bring home the beauty of 3 consecutive take profits. The resulting equity is positive. We see that with these last 3 targets. The system has moved to equity peaks, reaching new highs. As we know, Bitcoin futures, which was first launched as a regulated market by the CME in 2018, has a fairly heavy big point value of $25. So right now the value of a Bitcoin futures contract is around $275,000, which, if compared for example to the future of the S&P 500, which is currently worth around 160,000, we understand how is a market that to call heavy sounds like an understatement. So this market is certainly not accessible to retail traders who don't have an adequate capital. However, if you want, you can also use the many CFDs offered by the most well-known brokers to still be able to take advantage of the strong volatility and the tendency to follow the trends of Bitcoin.
Hello everyone, hello from Andrea Unger, and today we will talk about one of the most diffused bias approach in the futures markets. And today, in fact, we are talking about the gold intraday bias. The gold future is listed on the COMEX exchange, and the time zone is referred to New York. And this very classical approach has been very successful all over the last decade, so all over the last 10 years. And in fact, this really simple idea consists basically in buying the gold future at 10 a.m. in the morning. Of course, this time is referred to the time zone of New York, and to go short at 2 a.m., so 2 in the morning. Of course, again, the time is referred to New York time. And how this idea would have performed in the past? So it would have had a very nice equity in the past, but we can see that recently the strategy is facing some difficulties. In fact, the equity in the last period is not so good, But overall, we can see also that the long part is going quite fine, and the problems are in the short side of the strategy that that is losing money, has been losing money for some years, so in the latest years. And of course, this is a very basic approach, and sometimes the bias comes out, and sometimes they come back. So this kind of edge sometimes appear, and then after a while they disappear, and maybe they return again. So you should monitor, of course, this kind of phenomenon, because it may become again a good strategy as it was in the past, or maybe it will not come back. And if we have a look to the annual period analysis, we can see, of course, that in the last year, so in the actual year, in 2020, the strategy is not performing fine, and in fact it's losing money. And also in 2018 the strategy has lost some money, while in 2019 it was successful. It was a successful approach, but here we are not considering slippage and commissions, so the edge was not so consistent, and it was not so easy to exploit it also in 2019. By the way, this was an idea of strategy, and in fact it does a lot of trades, because here we don't have any filter, and in fact the average trade would not be sufficient to trade safely the gold future in general, because about $70 of average trade is not a significant average trade, and so you are not always sure to cover the impact of this slippage and commissions.
Well, let's take a look at the rollover calendar for the next week. Formally, we have only the live cattle settlement, but in reality all the meets are already active on the next expiration, which is October for live cattle and lean hogs, and September for feeder cattle. As for soybean meal and soybean oil, the settlement date is August 14th, but the most liquid expiration is November for soybean and December for soybean oil and soybean meal. Finally, at the end of the month there is the settlement date of gold future, but the expiration with the higher liquidity is already December. Okay guys, so if you want to learn how to build trading systems like Andrea Unger, the only 4-time trading world champion with real money, go ahead and click on the link below. It's our free webinar during which you will see the steps to build your trading systems and become a profitable trader, how to have an edge over other traders and professionals in the sector, and how to build a diversified portfolio of automated strategies. Finally, if you liked this video, press like and then subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching. See you next week with another episode of the Trading Show.